Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest is Mary Ellen Loyens. And Mary Ellen is the Chief Business Development and Brand Officer at Silicon Valley Community Foundation. The foundation helps donors support the charitable causes that they care most about, both close to home and around the world. Through its donors, Silicon Valley Community Foundation gives more money to Bay Area charities than any other grant maker, a total of about $197 million in 2013. Yay.
Yes.
So Mary Ellen oversees the foundation's corporate responsibility, development, and marketing and communications departments. She's a seasoned nonprofit professional with nearly 2 decades of experience. No, you started when you were 3 years old?
I wish.
In her role at the foundation, she provides advice and guidance to individual and corporate donors about the charitable vehicles that will best meet their philanthropic objectives, and oversees Silicon Valley Community Foundation's brand as a global center of philanthropy. She joined the Community Foundation in 2004 as a Director of Development for the parent foundation, Community Foundation Silicon Valley. And in that time, under her leadership, the organization has raised over $4 billion. That's a lot of money. Congratulations on that. So, Mary Ellen, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So, as I told you before we got started, my intention is this will be broadcast around Thanksgiving. And so it's sort of to kick off the holiday season, and with a lot of the kids thinking about getting, though I want to have more of the theme around giving, and particularly why and how to promote charitable giving in a family. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what is the role of Silicon Valley Community Foundation in promoting philanthropy in Silicon Valley?
Well, we have 2 roles. The first is that we have an endowment that serves our community, and we make grants, as you mentioned, throughout San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. So that's a very important role that we play in supporting the nonprofit community as a whole. We also administer donor-advised funds to donors throughout the area and around the world, actually, and help donors really meet their philanthropic objectives.
Okay. So how did you get involved with Silicon Valley Community Foundation?
Well, actually, I was working at Second Harvest Food Bank of Santa Clara and San Mateo counties, which an organization I'm sure you're familiar with.
I've given them a lot of money. So.
And a great organization, especially around Thanksgiving, to think about and to help support, as there are so many families that aren't able to have the large feasts that we're familiar with. I was looking for an opportunity where I could help donors no matter what their interests be. You know, a lot of people are very interested in hunger and supporting hunger needs, but there's so many wonderful causes out there. And the wonderful thing about the Community Foundation is I get to talk to you and learn about what you're interested in supporting and what causes really matter to you, and then help you meet those causes. And I find that thrilling, to really get to know people and their families and understand what they're trying to do to make the world a better place and just be a little part of that.
Great. Okay. So, I don't know if you've been doing this, so I'll mention, there's another friend that we were talking about, actually, John Hopkins.
Yes.
Anyway, he was really involved in promoting this idea of thinking of the community or charities as one of your children and making an estate plan. So why would I want to do something like that?
Well, John Hopkins is really such a pillar of this community and how he really started this thinking. And he wrote several pretty well-known articles in our arena about doing this and promoting charitable giving. And if you think about it, it makes sense. You can leave money to your children, but if there are no schools for your grandchildren to attend, if there aren't services to help seniors, if there isn't all of that backbone around a community, What will it matter if your kids have some money? You have to make sure that there's actually a home for them to live in. And a home is more than the building that you go home to every night. It's that whole area of your whole town and the life around you, making sure that everything is a place that you want to be in, whether that be taking care of the environment, making sure there's appropriate public transportation, or even making sure that the animals are cared for.
Okay. How can you teach this value of community giving to your children during your lifetime?
Oh, how should you not teach them? It's really, I think, when it comes to learning about philanthropy, children learn in two ways. And there have actually been studies done about how people learn about philanthropy. And basically, children have to learn in two ways. They have to be talked to about it, and they have to have experiences relevant to it. So it's great to first get your kids out and into the community. There's right after Thanksgiving a turkey trot. You can do the turkey trot with your kids. You don't have to run. There's a whole walking section. It's very family friendly. And it's a great way to say to your kids, hey, through doing this work, we're supporting these nonprofits in the community. You can go and volunteer at the food bank, pack bags. There are lots of different opportunities. We're starting to get ready for Christmas. You can go out and buy some toys for kids in need and drop them off. The holiday train will be on December 5th and 6th, and you can get some toys and drop those off at the holiday train. So there are lots of interactive activities where you can show your child that you're helping the community and that it's important. But you also need to talk to your child about why it's important. They found in studies that that is a very important part of the entire learning process for a child. And it's not enough to just show them that you put a toy in the bin, but you have to talk to them about what's happening to the toy in the bin. How is it going to make a difference? Why is it important to you personally to put the toy in the bin? Why should the child care? So really, in engaging your family, you want to think about both those volunteer opportunities and how you're going to talk to your child about it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things related to what you were just talking about. So one is an experience. I talk about it every year. I need to get some more of these. I need to do more with my grandkids. But years ago I was involved in JC's, San Jose JC's, which is a community service organization. There are others, like Kiwanis and Rotary and so forth. But we had community service projects, and one of them was to help out related to the restoration of the trolleys for San Jose. We have some historic trolleys. You don't see them very much, because you're not going to see them out on the big trolley lines, but they'll use them occasionally downtown, especially maybe during the holidays.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they had some of these historic trolley cars, and they hired a trolley master, somebody that knew what he was doing to sort of supervise. But there was a lot of little things that needed to be done, like sanding the wood and so forth. So one Saturday, I took my kids down to the trolley barn at the San Jose Historical Museum, and so we were helping out in doing some of these little tasks to help out. And I said, now someday you're going to come and you're going to take your kids downtown and they can see the trolley. He said, yeah, see, I worked on that. I helped to restore that. And so anyway, so you can have experiences like that. There are things that you can do together as a family that contributes to the community. And like you said, I mean, you can go pack bags, you can be a docent, help out at San Jose Historical Museum in that way, or help with restoring other things that are they have down there.
Do a canopy project and plant a tree.
Yeah.
There are a number of real family-friendly events. And this is important at any age. I think sometimes we think about younger children, but really throughout their experience. And many of the schools in the area have volunteerism built into the curriculum. That shouldn't mean to you that your child's volunteerism is taken care of. In the same way that you might sit down and talk to them about their homework, whether it be their math homework or their history homework, you really ought to talk to them about their volunteerism too, and find additional opportunities to engage in volunteerism as a family.
Yeah. And another thing is, it's a little bit of sharing yourself.
Yes.
So I've heard of situations where families, well, I should say parents, have been very involved in giving to certain community interests or charities, and their kids didn't have a clue about what they were doing.
Yes.
And so, I mean, like if you're interested in theater, like I am, okay, and so you may be involved in giving to help Broadway San Jose happen, or West Valley Light Opera, or whatever. Tabard is another group. They need community support.
Absolutely.
And donations. And so if you have an interest in doing that, well, one, of course, is you can do things with them. You can bring your kids along for this sort of stuff. But also you can just tell them about it. You know, these are things that I'm interested in and I'm giving to.
Right.
And, you know, and you can also encourage your kids, okay, we're going to talk about this a little more, but what are things that you think would be worthwhile giving to, you know, things that of your interest?
Well, you started this conversation talking about estate planning and planned giving, and John Hopkins, of course, and it really does get to that. Your children should know what your legacy is. If you've spent time thinking about what your legacy is, have you communicated that to your children? And your legacy could mean lots of different things to you, but hopefully part of it will be what were the things that you really cared about in this world and tried to impact. And hopefully those are the things that will really live on with your children and your grandchildren, that legacy of who you were and what you meant to the family.
Okay. So let's get back to the old times here. And again, this came up in some conversations. But, you know, have you heard about this old-time philosophy about what they would teach kids to do when they got their allowance or whatever?
Third.
Yeah, maybe you could talk. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Sure. And I think still there are some banks that will make these plastic piggy banks. I don't know if you've seen them. And the piggy is clear plastic, and you can see little dividers between the piggy. And they say you put a third to use. So this is going to be your money to maybe go to the movies or do something for yourself. And then another third should be to save. So this is for your future, you know, for your college or saving up for something big that you want for yourself. And the last third is what you should give to charity. So the idea that just in the same way that you're giving to yourself and you're giving for your future, how are you giving for your community? And it's a great practice. It's been around ages, right? And it's, I think, been around so long because it's successful. It does really help to demonstrate that sort of idea of how are we taking care of ourselves, taking care of our futures, and taking care of our community as a whole. And you don't have to, you know, look on eBay to find the 1/3 slice piggy bank. You can just buy 3 little piggy banks or take 3 little cans or jars and set them all up and label them use, save, for the community or for giving. And the important part, of course, talk to your kids about why. Because you don't want it to feel like a chore, like I have to do this and I'm not even sure why I'm doing it. You want the children to really understand, and how you're going to help them understand is, again, modeling the behavior. So in the same way that you go out with the kids and volunteer, when you write the check to your favorite charity, how often do you talk to your kids about that? Okay, we're going to make our gift to the zoo, and I'm writing it out now, and this is going to help a panda bear get fed today. Really having that communication about what that third for charity will do versus the third that they're going to spend on bubble gum.
Okay. All right. So maybe we can talk about then, you know, just various approaches for promoting family giving.
Sure. Well, I think you've suggested some very good ones. I really love the one about the train. And what I love about the historic trolley idea that you were just sharing is that there's a tangible event, right? You share, I'm going to go do this. Come with me. Experience this with me. There's going to be some education in the act itself. Why is this important? What's going on with it? And then the ability to see the result of one's labor and one's work is really beneficial, and it helps make the charity tangible. And if there's an opportunity to give on top of that and say, here's a dollar for making the trolley actually roll, all the better, because then it ties together that engagement of the family with the donation of the money as well.
Mm-hmm. So now here's another thing. I mean, there's a lot of these, so we can just throw out ideas. But I've seen where organizations are looking for volunteers, of course. Now here's something, a vacation opportunity, participating in an archaeological dig.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this.
Yes.
There are things like this that are available.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, there are the extremes, the Peace Corps and the other things, but still, there are doctors that are, Doctors Without Borders.
Absolutely.
And so forth. There are, and some of these doctors can use helpers.
Yes.
That don't have to be doctors.
Right.
So there are so many ways that, you see, you can give your money, but you can give your time.
Absolutely.
And again, it gives you an opportunity to see what the money is doing.
Yeah. It's called voluntourism.
Okay.
in the business, and it's that tourism and volunteerism into one. And there are numerous opportunities. There are also websites that you can visit about voluntourism, and they extend from just what you're talking about, being an aide at Doctors Without Borders, to going to Haiti and helping build homes, to going to an orphanage in Africa, or another country where you can help children as a visiting teacher. Some volunteerisms will try to match your particular technical skills with the skills that are needed in that charity. So there are lots of opportunities, and it can be a real family bonding adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's for you and your wife, or for you and your grandkids, it can be a way for you to get away from everything and really experience, again, the end result. So as we were talking about seeing the trolley roll, you get to see that end result when you go off with Doctors Without Borders, and you get to see who's getting the surgery, and afterwards how elated they are that, now they can see, or they have glasses and they didn't before, and just that tangible result of the benefit of your community volunteerism, and also the donations that you give.
Yeah. And there are tons of things, here we go, okay, locally, opportunities. So some of it may be just according to people's interests.
True.
But, I mean, I was talking to my grandson, okay, he's in the 5th grade, and they have no orchestra at their school. And the kids aren't learning. It's not available now in the school anymore as I did. I don't know if you did.
Me too. Music in the school. What happened to it?
Yeah, I had music in the school. Now they do sing, and they have a wonderful choral director that volunteers. He's actually from San Francisco Opera. So this guy is just
fantastic.
He's wonderful, and so count our blessings. But nonetheless, those opportunities aren't there. But you could have a community orchestra, or participate in a community orchestra, San Jose Symphony, and other things. And then there's so many community service type things that need volunteers, like Martha's Kitchen.
Absolutely.
Okay, simple one.
Wonderful organization.
Okay, Salvation Army, the public library.
Yep.
Okay, our libraries are in such need. Now they're cut back to only 4 days a week in San Jose.
Absolutely.
It's sort of a
and
tragedy.
then the fire that happened at Hope recently, one of the pillar nonprofits in our community, they lost so many donations, and I'm sure they could use a lot of helping hands and additional donations of goods.
Right. And then there's hospitals, of course, that, they really appreciate and love to have volunteers that come and work. But, or just finding things of your interest. So, again, community theater, they need helping hands building sets. And it's a lot of fun, too. I mean, there's a very social aspect of this, of getting together with people with common interests.
Absolutely.
But it's promoting the arts in San Jose, which is a wonderful thing,
right.
or in Silicon Valley, or wherever your community happens to be.
I think the key thing is what you said at the very beginning of that list of potential organizations, which is finding something that really speaks to you. There's so many different things out there, but the best experience that you're going to get as a volunteer, and therefore the best work that you will do, is going to be in an organization that really somehow connects to you. And I think, too often we look for these strapped nonprofits to somehow advertise publicly that they're looking for volunteers. It really isn't that much of an effort to pick up the phone or send an email to a nonprofit you are interested in and say, hey, I'm looking for volunteer opportunities. Let me know if there's anything available. Often they need people and they just can't find them. And organizations love to keep lists of volunteers who are interested in supporting organizations, whether that be during the holiday or some other time of year.
Right. So, yeah, well, of course, during the holidays, things are pretty heavy. Like we were talking about Martha's Kitchen and Salvation Army. They definitely need, and it's so much, I think speaks well of families that have made a tradition of going to help at these, when instead of necessarily having Thanksgiving dinner at home, they're serving at these kitchens and so forth. So, more power to you, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, but there are lists sometimes that you'll see in the newspaper where they'll may have a list, public service announcements, whatever, of help that's needed. But there's some internet clearinghouses too.
There are. And
so one of them is onebrick.org. These are some that I picked out. There's one called hands.org/volunteer, smartvolunteer.org, and there's another one called meetup.com Silicon Valley Volunteers /Silicon Valley Volunteers with little dashes. So anyway, if you do a little internet search, you can find these things if you're looking for opportunities. There are lots of them out there.
Oh, no shortage. No shortage of opportunities to help the community.
Right.
I think people forget, we're a community with a lot of wealth, a lot of good fortune, but there's also a lot of need, too.
Sadly, I was reading, I can't even remember which community it was, and I'm sorry, it's not San Jose, but it's one of our local ones. I think that there was a veterans hall or something that had been made available for some of these, for homeless people, to use. And that shelter is going away, and they haven't found a replacement for it yet. So, again, things like Salvation Army and so forth, they need support from the community in order to afford to provide these types of services.
Absolutely. My dad's a vet, and every year I like to do something for a veterans organization, sort of in honor of him. He's still with me and kicking.
Thank God.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. But it's just a way to sort of honor him in a way, because we don't live close to each other anymore. And that's, volunteerism and philanthropy can allow you to feel close to your family even when you can't be.
So, anyway, here we are. This time of year can be a great time of giving and promoting the idea of giving then all year long for your family. You can have family meetings. You can sort of kick around ideas. What are things that we would like as a family to support? And maybe you can elicit ideas from your kids. Okay, I've made a giving budget here. So, what ideas do you have as far as maybe things that you would like to see some of that giving budget be devoted to? And maybe you could do a little research and tell me about why this is something that would be a good thing for our family to be involved with.
Yeah, we do an exercise at the Community Foundation where we'll create a family mission statement and a strategy around the philanthropy. And it's so fun to watch families who really do care about philanthropy, but really never had that conversation. And each family member will go to the whiteboard or use these cards that we have to talk about what interests they have. And you'll see husbands and wives learning things about each other when they thought they were going to come and learn about their kids' interests. They're like, wow, you hear about that? I had no idea. It's such a great conversation. It really can bring a family together in a different way.
Okay, well, we've got maybe a minute and a half, so maybe you can throw out some final ideas, and particularly tell a little bit more about how people can work with Community Foundation.
Sure. So at Silicon Valley Community Foundation, we love working with people. You can establish a donor advised fund with $5,000, and for that, we can help you make your grants anywhere, not just in this community, but in the world. Let's say you just took a trip with Doctors Without Borders to another country and want to help an organization in Brazil, we can help you do that. And it's also a wonderful way to sit down with people and have a conversation about something that we just don't talk enough about. How do I want to help the community? I mean, just from this little chat, aren't you feeling excited and energized about volunteering? It's amazing how having that conversation about volunteerism and philanthropy can really motivate people to make the world a better place. And so I think that's really at the Community Foundation what we really want to do. We want to help motivate people to make the world and our community a better place by engaging them in conversations around philanthropy, whether it be for themselves, for their family, for their friends, for their company, however you define your community and the folks that you want to really engage in efforts.
Okay. Well, Mary Ellen, it's been a pleasure having you as my guest. I hope that we've given our viewers some good ideas. I know that we have, but also, inspire them a little bit to open up their minds and think a little bit about how, you can be involved in your community and participate. And, I think, again, you'll make some wonderful friends in the process as well. So, so you're going to get some wonderful rewards.
Absolutely. Met my husband on the way to volunteer for Junior League.
Yay, congratulations.
You never know. So I think, yeah, absolutely. Giving back this time of year during Thanksgiving is so important. It really, that's what Thanksgiving is all about. It's thanking our world for the bounty that we've been given. And if you can give just a little bit back, I think you're doing something special and important.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care. Folks, enjoy your holiday season, and we'll see you next time.